I want to welcome you to the GFWC Glendale Women's Club Candidates Forum. I am Grace Kobajek, President of the Glendale Women's Club, and I will be the moderator this evening. Our Glendale Women's Club member, Linda Moran Whitley, sitting in the front, is the timekeeper for today's event. Members who will be helping this evening are Sharon Brown, Cheryl Belumo, Barbara Lentz, Teresa Parker, Naomi Burkle, Esther Gentile, Nancy Steinmund, Rosemary Lynch, and Cheryl Kappas. And if I've forgotten anyone, let me know, and I'll make sure that we thank you at the end. Marcia Jones, my dear corresponding secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our City of Glendale Mayor, Mr. Jerry Wires, Council Member Joyce Clark, representing the Yucca District, Council Member Ian Hugh, representing the Cactus District, and Mr. Ray Malnar, representing the Sororo District. Thank you really very much for being here this evening to support this event and this forum. Can everyone hear in the back? Okay. There are 5 candidates tonight running for office in 3 districts: Barrow, Cholla, and Ocotillo. To my left is Mr. Bart Turner. Next is Mr. Ray Strahl. Both are running for office in the Barrow District. Next, running in the Ocotillo District, are Mr. Jamie Adama and Mr. Emmanuel Allen. And in the Cholla District, thank you. In the Cholla District, running unopposed, is Mrs. Lauren Tomachoff. The candidates are sitting in random order, grouped according to districts. Candidates will have 3 minutes each for their opening statement. 3 minutes each, and with a 1 minute to respond to each of the questions that they will be asked. Our timekeeper will keep track of the time, raising cards when there is a 15 seconds left in their time, and a stop card when their speaking time is finished. The candidates have drawn numbers to determine their order for opening and closing statements. The order for closing statements is Mr. Turner is number 1, Mr. Strahl number 2, number 3 Mr. Adama, number 4 is Ms. Tomachoff, and number 5 Mr. Allen. I want you please to ask you to hold all applause until the end of the forum, the very end of the forum, as this really does take time away from the candidates and time to answer. The more time we have, the more questions we can get in this evening. So I appreciate that. We will begin the 3-minute opening statements with Mr. Bart Turner.
How about I compromise and stand, but over here? Well, thank you. And Grace, thank you and the ladies of the Glendale Women's Club so much for, again, another candidate forum. Can't tell how many of these I've been to on both sides of the table, but it's great to be here, and it's a great service that the Women's Club provides for our community, along with several other great things the Women's Club does. I'm the third of 3 boys in my family. My oldest brother remembers coming here for dancing lessons that long ago when they actually gave kids dancing lessons. My middle brother was actually married here, and I stood with him up there on that stage while he got married, and Quentin Tolby, for all of you who know Quentin Tolby, was the officiant, and he did the honors. So, and then for me, well, I can't tell you how many meetings of the Glendale Historical Society I've led from up here in this room, and how many businessmen's luncheons I've attended here. And that's just a few of the many things that the Women's Club has done in this community. And just a commercial for them, if anybody needs a room in which to hold an event, this space is available. Call the Women's Club and book it. It's a great event space here in downtown Glendale. So, me, I'm Bart Turner. I'm running for re-election to the City Council in the Barrow District. I'm a Glendale native. I went to Glendale Unit 4, Melvin E. Sign School. It was Unit 4 before they actually gave it a name. Went to Apollo High School, Northern Arizona University, and about 15 years ago I decided to continue my education. I applied and got accepted at Harvard University, earned a master's in public administration from the John F. Kennedy School of Government there, came back to my hometown, and well, everybody knows the condition Glendale was in 5, 6 years ago, and we not only were in financial straits, we'd lost a lot of longtime employees that knew and understood the history and culture of Glendale. We'd also had to turn over in elected officials as well, and I just could see signs that Glendale was on the wrong track and headed in the wrong direction. And I thought, if not me, who? If not me, who's going to run? Who's going to try to get the ship steered straight again? And I'd like to share just a few things with you from my that I've included on my direct mail pieces. I've done 2. They're in the back of the room if you want to pick them up on your way out. But I believe in saying what I'll do and doing what I'll say. 3 years ago when I ran for this office, I promised that I would work on 3 very distinct things. One is I promised that I would work to restore Glendale's financial condition. And we were on the verge of bankruptcy at that time, but now from the 3 largest bond rating companies, we have A1, AAA, and A+ ratings. And that's a huge increase and almost unprecedented. I also promised that I'd work to create jobs and bring good businesses, and you all know about BMW, Topgolf, the West Valley Casino, and the many other good things that are happening in Glendale. And I also said I'd promise to stop subsidizing professional sports. You know about our work with the Coyotes hockey team and the millions of dollars we're saving Glendaleans by that. So
you,
I see
Turner.
the stop sign, so I shall. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Turner. And what we're going to do is pass the mic. Thank you very much, Mr. Turner. Next up is Mr. Ray Strahl.
Well, good evening. My name is Ray Strahl, and I am running for Glendale City Council in the Beryl District. I would like to thank the Glendale Women's Club for holding this candidate forum. And I'm running because I believe in moving Glendale forward. And I have 47 years of actual corporate experience in managing and budgeting hundreds of people and millions of dollars. I am a problem solver, and above all, I listen. I know that my answer isn't always the best answer, so I try to look at all the possibilities. I believe these are the types of skills and experience that would be very helpful on the city council. I'm a worker, have been all my life. So far, I've personally knocked on over 3,000 doors in the Beryl District during this campaign, introducing myself and talking with voters in the Beryl District to find out their concerns and to ask for their vote and their support. As a Vietnam veteran flying medevac team, a banker, a financial advisor, and mortgage specialist, I've learned a few things about life and human nature, and I face challenges head on, without nonsense. I have learned how to work with people to reach a consensus and to get solutions. I think the council could benefit from that approach. Several council members and the mayor have supported me in this campaign because they know me and they appreciate what I can bring to the council. But it's you, the voter, who are at the center of this election. I want to hear from you and be your voice as we work together for a better Glendale. Let's focus on keeping our schools safe, attracting more businesses, fixing our roads, and supporting our first responders while ensuring that safety nets are in place for our citizens who are struggling. Not handouts, but a hand up for our veterans, the homeless, and others facing serious challenges, to assist them in returning to a productive, fulfilling life with dignity and respect. With your support and your vote, let's move forward sensibly without any obstructions or pushing personal agendas. My name is Ray Strahl, and I am running for Glendale City Council in the Beryl District.
Please hold your applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace,
You're
and the
welcome.
Women's Club for the opportunity to speak today, and I appreciate all your service to our community. My office has always been supportive of all that you do, so thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here. My name is Alderman. It's been an absolute honor serving as your council member for the past 4 years. born and raised in this community as a child to this date today. 49 years in Glendale, 42 years in the Alcotillo District. I certainly know the needs of our community. Many of you who are in the room today, friends and family, thank you. When I ran for office and ultimately was seated in 2014, the city was on the brink of bankruptcy. Today we celebrate AAA bond ratings. We refinance bonds and our debt and returns saved you $72 million approximately. We ended costly litigation. We ended a contract that was starving us of $25 million a year. We are now in a revenue sharing profit agreement with the Coyotes organization, the AIG. We are now paying only $4 million. They returned a check to us for $1.4 million. We are doing much better than we were before, and it's been a great pleasure serving you. We are paving your streets. We are changing your lights to LED fixtures. We have got a check returned to us for over $400,000 quickly as soon as they were installed. The district is doing better. The city is doing better. I am privileged to serve on this council with our council members. Together, collectively, we have made the city what it is today. I made a couple promises. I said that I would help stabilize the finances of the city. Together, we have done that. This council has worked together to do that. I said that I would re-image Glendale, and I would help the council do that. Today, we are re-imaged. We are a new Glendale than we were 4 or 5 years ago. We are doing much better. We now have youth sports for our children, both baseball and softball for our kids, both boys and girls. We now have a football league in the city of Glendale for our boys and girls. We have great partnerships with the YWCA with our seniors. Great folks that I visit. I even have family that go there. Really excited about the work that this council has been doing together, collectively. Nothing of what I will speak today will have been done alone. We are doing great things in our city. Economic development is through the ceiling, and I'll tell you another reason why. Not because of the council, but because of the direction of great staff that we have. We have some of the best staff in the entire state. Our City of Glendale Economic Development team is doing extremely well. I am proud of them, and I'm proud of all of our staff. We have reduced employee turnover from about 20% to about 8%. We no longer have a line in the unemployment line. We now have a line for new jobs in the City of Glendale. Talking about jobs, I think we have more than 1,800 jobs this year in the City of Glendale. Development is just ongoing, and there will be more jobs for other people. It has been an absolute pleasure serving each and every one of you citywide and in the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adama. Okay, next, Mr. Allen, is Ms. Tomachoff. She's number 4.
Oh, I was going to let him go next.
I
Thank
know.
you.
That's okay.
Thank you, Grace, and thank you, Women's Club, for having us here today. Last time I sat up here, there were a lot more of us up here, so this is a little bit more manageable. I'm Lauren Tomachoff. I'm running for council in the Cholla District. And I'd like to reiterate it and actually bring up a couple of other items that we've done. One of the things that I promised I would do when I was elected and when I ran 4 years ago was to restore stability to the city, and not just fiscal stability, but stability as far as the management of the city, which is something I think Glendale was really lacking, as we didn't have a real stability leadership team in the city, and you need that to move a city forward. We've done that. We've got a city manager with vision, we've got great staff with vision, and we're moving the city forward in a lot of ways. One of the ways is with the bond ratings that have been mentioned earlier that saved nearly $72 million in long-term debt. That's real savings for the taxpayers. That's money that we would have to pay in interest on bonds that we don't have to pay now because of the improved bond rating. We're getting very close to our reserve fund balance of 25% of ongoing revenue. Which is based on our ongoing revenue now is $50 million in a reserve fund balance, a rainy day fund essentially for the city, so that we're prepared for downturns and unexpected things unfortunately happen, and we want to be ready and flexible enough to react in the event that there was some financial or some other kind of disaster in the city that we needed to react to. We have a $77 million pavement management plan underway that will bring our pavement index from a score of 65 citywide, up to a score of 70 citywide. I was recently at a meeting with some people from ADOT and Maricopa Association of Governments, and they were jealous of the pavement index of 65. So we're committed to improving things for our citizens, and streets is one of the things we hear most from. I get a lot of inquiries about streets, and we've actually, with the approval of this last budget we adopted, we've expedited that pavement management plan. We're going to move that up so we can finish it earlier and get to all the streets in the city so we can just go on to a maintenance schedule. The LED light conversion. While we got the rebate from APS, which was a nice rebate, about $400,000, it's going to save us about $670,000 a year in electric costs. So that's a huge savings, and that's going to be an ongoing savings. That's not a one-time thing. One of the things I did actually for my district, it benefits the whole city though, is I committed to establishing a scenic corridor along the 101 to prevent big signs and billboards, because there's beautiful mountain views. And actually Phoenix, I knew, had a Phoenix corridor that stopped at 51st Avenue. Right when you enter Glendale, that's where the scenic corridor stopped. Now the scenic corridor goes all the way to Bell Roads. We defeated billboards for good. The billboards will not be able to be placed along the 101 because of the scenic corridor. And I've got more, but I'll save that for the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tomajoff. Mr. Allen?
Good evening. Thank you, the Women's Club, for hosting this today. I am Emmanuel Allen, and I want to take this time to fill in the blanks of some that somehow keep missing, left out of the reports about me. I'm the pastor of a small church of mostly lower-income people. That church sponsors a community service program called Roots. Roots has a contract with the city to provide after-school and summer programs for our youth in our community, and as part of that contract, Roots receives use of 2 city-owned community centers. That church rents space in one of the church rents space in one of the rec centers and provides most of the volunteer manpower for the Roots program. Here's the important part. As they say in politics, follow the money. The city pays nothing for Roots programs. I take no salary for the program, nor does anyone else on our staff. It's an all-volunteer operation. I don't take a salary from the church either because they can't afford it. Aside from occasional small government grants, the only money that changes hands between the city, Roots, the church, and myself is the rent paid by the church to the city. The rent has an occasion falling behind. As I said before, our members of our church, they're rich in spirit, but not in the pocket. Also, Roots never charges any of our families we serve. So that's it. So I see only 2 possibilities here. Either I'm the worst con man in history, paying for the privilege of working for free, and convincing others to do the same, or I'm someone deeply dedicated to this community and our children. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a man of faith, serving a loving God who commands me to love my neighbors, and I strive every day to do that. When I look at these children, when I look at our youth, I see God's promise, and I see human potential, and I see an opportunity to make a difference. I'm not running for city council to be something. I'm running to do something, to build bridges, to build hope, to build prosperity for our community, and to build a better future for our children and our grandchildren. I make no pretense of being perfect. There was only one that was perfect. But I'm certainly not trying to deceive anyone or misrepresent myself or my work. Glendale has been moving forward. I believe I have something to offer to help with that progress. And I hope that you, the voters, will see to give me that opportunity. I'm Emmanuel Allen. I look forward to your questions, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. We're going to hold applause until the very end. Thank you very much. Please remember that takes time away from me saying that each time. Candidates, just as a reminder, remember to hold the microphone about 3 inches. And Mr. Allen, would you pass it down? We'll probably have to pass, and I'm going to give you the format. With the opening statements complete, we now move to questions for the candidates. The process for taking questions from the community was sent to from the community was sent to them, to the website, and was listed in the Glendale Star. We had we had an email address in the Glendale Star and also on our Facebook page, Glendale Women's Club Facebook page. The questions tonight were selected on the basis of if they pertained to city-wide issues. That way, all the candidates would have an opportunity to present their viewpoints on these issues. We will present as many questions as we can this evening. Candidates will answer questions in seating order. For example, Mr. Turner will answer question number 1 first, and then Mr. Stahl, etc. Question number 2 then would be answered by Mr. Stahl. Then second would be Mr. Adama, and so on. So we will go through all of the questions, and each of you will get a turn, and that pretty much is the fairest way to do it. And again, community, please remember to hold your applause. Hold your applause to the very end. Oh, and you do have 1 minute to, and I forgot to read something. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond to the question. Our timekeeper will give you a 15-second reminder holding up the yellow card, and then please stop when the red card is held up. Okay? Any questions? All right. Go ahead and let's begin. First question. Mr. Turner, we'll start with you. Candidates, blight is a concern for many cities. Dirty streets, unkept businesses, the homeless, businesses such as tattoo shops and massage shops have popped up. What will you do as a council member to keep our streets clean and get some consistency with the look of the businesses?
Will they tell me when it starts, or do I just start on my own?
Oh, no, that's 1 minute.
All right, 1 minute and counting? Okay, thank you. Well, I'm very pleased to have this question be the first of the bunch, because it's really about the quality of life that we experience here in Glendale, and that's really what we're all here for. And I would like to let you know that I've also put in writing my promise for the future in Glendale here, and that is that because we've been able to get our financial condition into a stable state, then we should now start looking towards building again the quality of life in Glendale. We've got our 5-year street paving program well underway, and that's going to be a high priority to continue. I'd like to increase the number of days of the week or days of the month where we actually do street cleaning in our neighborhoods. I've heard that from residents as I go around through the neighborhood. We need to improve the landscaping of our right-of-ways. We need to reinvest and improve our park system. We need to save all of the green open space that we can, and that includes Glen Lakes Golf Course. And we need to continue doing what we've done so well, and that's attracting good, clean business with good, well-paying jobs to Glendale. Thank you.
Mr. Strahl, do you need the question repeated, or are you all right?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Glendale is a pretty city, isn't it? And I think that requires the work of everyone. Now, having said that, I have always believed over the past few years that it's not all about government. Citizens should have a stake in this. So I have talked at length about forming a citizen and government leader task force. And they could study a number of different issues before the council, such as cleaning our streets, keeping things in order. I know that the mayor has also started a program called Glendale Works, and that program, I think, is going to work and help continue to beautify our city. But it always remains the fact that we have to continually study and move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Strahl. Mr. Adama?
Yes, thank you. So a couple of things. We have to address zoning, how it encroaches in our community. So we have to start addressing that, number one. Alcatillo District is an M1 light industrial magnet for those types of businesses. I'm pro-business, and I'm happy to have them here, but we have to start looking at those zoning issues. The council and I voted to and approved a alley closure program that keeps the blight out and the illegal dumping, so that's one way. We are doing the street maintenance program that is helping the blight out. The city and I, the council members and I approved a donation box ordinance, so we are now regulating those boxes that are in parking lots, so keeping the blight away that way. We are working with our constituents. I started my mobile office hours 4 years ago. Those continue, and I get a lot of responses from our residents. But we're going to continue working to create beautification projects in downtown Glendale and the district. But also, I'm not just a council member for the Alcotillo district, I'm also for all districts for the entire city. So we have to look at the city abroad. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Yes, as it has already been said, Glendale is a beautiful place and very unique, and I think we all will agree that we want it to be continue to be attractive and retain great businesses here. And I will concur that zoning definitely we would definitely need to talk to those departments and making sure that we are on the same page and that those things are being looked at and addressed. But I really do believe that if we all work together as far as looking at having a diverse group of different businesses here. I've already taken advantage of the street maintenance with calling that line on the website to address different cleaning issues in different neighborhoods that I've been walking in. I've been walking this entire district, and I've been seeing a lot of different things with the streets, and I've been utilizing that street maintenance number. And so it's just really focusing, putting our attention there, and really working together to make sure that we do have a clean and attractive city.
Ms. Tomachoff?
Thank you. One of the things that we've been working on, and I'm on the business subcommittee, but as a council, we've actually been looking at our code department. Our city code has a lot to do with enforcement of blight and other issues within our city, and we have been working very hard to, thank you, Joyce, to have the code officers be proactive, not reactive. We want them out in the community, out in your neighborhoods, driving around, looking to enforce code, and also, but to be able to work with people. And we do have a lot of community organizations. If you find somebody who is not able to bring their yard up to code, there are ways that we can help them do that. But it really needs to be a proactive department of the city code. We don't have enough employees or citizens to know where to report things. And one other thing quickly is, as Mr. Allen mentioned, is to have a user-friendly website so citizens know and they can find out where to report things so that that code can go out there and take notice. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would pass the mic down to Mr. Strahl. Mr. Strahl. And all candidates, question number 2. If you are elected in August, would you vote to support rearranging the downtown festival budget to allow for bringing back the 2 weekends the city manager's office has deleted, and why?
I understand that there is another weekend that has been added. There has been much talk about this in the community, in all of the residences and citizens that I have visited. This is a continuing subject that has come up about Glendale Glitters and Glitter and Glow. I believe that, again, it needs to be reinvestigated a little bit further. I think that people really love the Christmas season, and they really want to be able to have that event downtown. So I think it is upon the council and community leaders to do whatever we can to expand Glendale Glitters and Glitter and Glow. It's very important to this community.
Thank you. Mr. Adama?
Thank you. The festivals, just to be clear, are a citywide event, but they're held in the Alcotillo district. But I do favor the events, and I would not want to see them gone. However, this council has a fiduciary responsibility. When we look at a deficiency or we're deficient in any part of our budget, we have a responsibility to look at that. And folks, that's what we're doing. It was brought to our attention and said, look, we spend more money in downtown Glendale than any other business development area in all Glendale. That includes Westgate and Arrowhead Mall. I'm in favor of coming back to the table. I spoke to the city manager. He did re-implement one weekend. That is great. He reached out the olive branch, and I'm appreciative of him. But at the end of the day, I don't want him to go away. I would like to see him back, but we have a fiduciary responsibility to you, the taxpayers, to make sure that we are spending dollars wisely, efficiently, and the way you want us to. And the business owners in downtown Glendale know that I advocate for those businesses and those events, and we're going to continue to work hard to get them back. But again, at the end of the day, we're all going to have to work together. Thank you.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. I definitely support for those festivals to come back here, to be here in downtown Glendale. I understand the fiduciary responsibility as the city and the council, and making sure that we are looking at those different things. And when you do look at those numbers, it is important that we make some necessary changes. And we do need to take another look at that. But we're talking to so many different merchants and so many different people in the community, of just hearing the stories of how they grew up with these festivals and how they have great memories of their children being part of these festivals. I think it's important that we do make a decision that not only is beneficial to us as taxpayers, but also for those that enjoy the experience of these festivals. And so I definitely think that it's important that we go back to the table and really look at this, and we strategize to make it a win-win.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Ms. Tomachoff?
Thank you. I just actually had this conversation recently. There seems to be some confusion that something was canceled, because nothing was canceled. I heard from a lot of people that were not satisfied with the carnival atmosphere that was every weekend downtown, and even a lot of the downtown merchants were not happy with the street closures and other things that were going on in order to accommodate the carnival type atmosphere. So I believe that that this will offer something for everyone. If you want the big, with all the vendors and the bouncy houses and all of that, you're going to have that option. But you're going to have other weekends where you can come down here with your kids in a wagon, with a stroller, with your families, and have an enjoyable, relaxing experience. If you don't want that experience, you can come on the weekends when we have the festivals. A lot of people are not really interested in especially with children. A lot of my constituents had young children, and it's really difficult to be down here with those crowds with young children. So we're going to try to offer both to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could pass the mic to Mr. Turner.
Thank you. Well, and as as Vice Mayor Tomachoff was alluding to, the good news is that most of Glendale Glitters is going to be what you're used to. The opening weekend, the weekend right after Thanksgiving, and the closing weekend that we know is Glitter and Glow, which is the second weekend of January, are going to be very similar to what you've seen before, and as big and exciting and all the event that you're used to. The question at hand is those 3 weekends that run in the middle there, and I was very disappointed that the downtown merchants were surprised, and that the way that staff handled it left them surprised at the deprogramming or downsizing of those 3 weekends. And that's why I was an advocate for being sure that we replace those 3 weekends this year. What we really need to do is look at those weekends in the middle and reimagine them and figure out how to produce them in a way that represents what Glendale is, that hometown Christmas that we all yearn for, and that people will come and enjoy on that kind of a hometown basis and not the big carnival type events. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Adama will be next. Candidates, over the past year, there has been a lot of talk about the downtown business merchants in council meetings, in newspaper articles, television interviews, etc. In the Glendale Star on March 13th, 2018, Mr. Phelps, the city manager, was quoted as saying, "We need them to have some skin in the game." Just 2 weeks ago, they took their first step. What are your thoughts, comments, or suggestions for the newly formed Historic Downtown Glendale Merchants Association?
Thank you. One of the first things I did when I got into office, I held a town hall meeting for business owners. Anybody else was included that could be there, but it was the downtown business owners. We met and we said we would create some continuity between everybody. That was where we developed the 5-on-5 group. 5-on-5, so 5 from downtown, 5 from Catlin Court. Today, I'm happy to say that there is some cohesiveness. We did invest in a downtown manager, and that's Katie with the Glendale Chamber, and they're working well with each other. I have been working to create relationships between Catlin Court and downtown. I consider downtown as one whole downtown. I don't separate them. I'm happy that there is a collaboration and there's an association that will start working with Katie and with the downtown manager. I'm very supportive of the downtown manager concept, but I'm also supportive of an association that wants to better the storefronts, wants to better the streets, wants to better the sidewalks in front of their businesses, and no better than those who are business owners to take stake and claim in this downtown. So I'm very proud of them. I look forward to working with both. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, sir, I will. Over the past year, there has been a lot of talk about the downtown business merchants in council meetings and newspaper articles, television interviews, etc. In the Glendale Star on March 13th, 2018, Mr. Phelps, the city manager, was quoted as saying, "We need them to have some skin in the game. Just 2 weeks ago, they took their first step. We took their first step." What are your thoughts, comments, suggestions on the newly formed Historic Downtown Glendale Merchants Association?
Well, I think that the city is doing a great job, and as well as the position with Miss Katie Engels down there as the downtown director, with really trying to work out some different things with our downtown Glendale. Downtown is such a unique downtown. Everyone here, I'm sure, can agree with that. It has such it's a unique atmosphere, and it could be very, very attractive and bring more people down. I think that it's important that we really work together, all of us downtown Glendale, as far as the merchants are concerned, in order to be able to, voices to be heard and ideas to be shared, so that we can make sure that we have a welcoming downtown, an attractive downtown, and that will retain different types of businesses.
Thank you. Ms. Tomachop?
Thank you. I think the good thing is that everybody wants the same thing. I know the city manager, the council, the mayor, what we want is downtown to be successful. We want to be able to move downtown Glendale forward. How we get there, no, we're not exactly sure right now. So my hope for this Historic Downtown Merchants Association is that everybody, them included, with myself, with whoever ends up elected on this body, the city staff, the Downtown Merchants Association, the Chamber, we all have to be committed to working together. There are going to be some disagreements. Not everybody thinks the same thing should happen, but we have to be committed to working together and to being respectful and listening to one another so that we can work to move this, baby steps. And change is hard for people. A lot of people have difficulty with change, but we need to be able to work together, listen to one another, and remember that we all want the same thing. Thank you.
Mr. Turner?
Thank you. So I'd like to be on record saying that I know and appreciate and acknowledge that our downtown businesses have tons of skin in the game. They've got their life savings invested in their businesses. They work long hours. They've got it on the line. They've got not just skin in the game, but they've got their blood, sweat, and tears invested in their businesses and our downtown as well. And I think it's important that we respect that. I'm happy to see the Downtown Merchants Association coming together. It's something that I've suggested and encouraged since before I was elected, and I'm glad to see that coming. I encourage that association to be inclusive, comprehensive, allow everybody to join, have a voice. Suggest that you start looking at ways to continue some of the events that we already have going on with Dog Days of Summer and those types of events that have been going on in the downtown, but also really focus on programming virtually every weekend in downtown Glendale so that businesses aren't solely reliant on the big peak of Glendale Glitters and the chocolate affair, but that we can have sustainable businesses all year long. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Strahl?
I am glad to see that there is a historic merchant association that has been formed. This kind of goes back to the first question and my response, where I talked about community leaders and citizens getting together and discussing issues, not only downtown, but throughout Glendale. This is going to obviously surface quality discussion, and it could surface additional events throughout the year that are well needed to help support those merchants. It is true, merchants have their life savings invested in this, and obviously they want the best for not only Glendale, but for their business. So I agree with this wholeheartedly.
Thank you. And Mr. Allen will be first. Next question, candidates. The voters approved a 0.5% increase in the city sales tax in 2001 dedicated to transportation, including the light rail extension into Glendale. Do you find it appropriate that the council unilaterally voted to cancel the light rail project versus taking it back to the voters?
I think that what the council has done in regards to light rail, I think they made a very prudent decision for where we are right now as a city. We know that we did see a change in our bond rating. We did see things on the upper side, and we want to stay there. We don't want to do anything that would jeopardize that. And I understand that there are some certain people that light rail they would have benefit, but as far as for us right now financially, I think that we made the city made the right thing to do as far as their decision on the light rail. I think it was a wise decision, and wisdom is very key. As it has been said before, the council does have a fiduciary responsibility, and I think what was said or what was done was the right thing to do.
Thank you. Ms. Tomachoff?
Thank you. I really did want to learn, and I really wanted to believe that light rail was the right thing for Glendale. But for me, it came down to the dollars, the investment, and I think probably part of what we haven't really talked about with light rail is I believe it was partly a casualty of the recession because it took so long to actually bring it forward that the cost had increased so dramatically that it wasn't even going to get it to 51st Avenue. And then we would have been committed, and as I said, I think the night that at the workshop where we decided not to move forward any further, was that if we had gone forward with the light rail, we would have had taken a bite of that apple. We would have had to eat the whole apple no matter how rotten it got. We would have been committed, no matter what the cost, to move that light rail across Grand Avenue, which is, by the way, at the most expensive place that there would have been anywhere to cross Grand Avenue, and I just didn't feel like it was a fiscally responsible decision to make. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to come all the way down to Mr. Turner.
Thank you. As most of you in this room probably know, and certainly those that would be watching it as well, I was, I guess, what you would call a champion of bringing light rail to downtown Glendale. That's what the voters had said to do. They gave us a directive. The voter approved bring light rail to downtown Glendale, and they also, and this is very significant, decided to tax themselves to pay for it. So it wasn't some empty, wish list thing. It was a plan that the voters had approved and put in place. And it was clear from the staff presentation at one of our last workshops on the subject that there was sufficient funding to build and operate the light rail at least all the way to 51st Avenue. And that's before we'd had an opportunity to do any value engineering, they call it, and to find ways to save money or places where the projections were too high based on what was occurring in the East Valley as opposed to costs here in the West Valley. So I really think that it's a train that we missed, and for us to have been able to pay for 3 miles of light rail, get 4, and be connected to 32 miles was, I think, a heck of a bargain, and I wish we had done it.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Mr. Strahl? Please hold your applause. Please hold your applause. Thank you.
This has been a hot topic for many months since it was voted down in December. I have talked with many people about this. Most are saying, well, after looking at it, maybe light rail is not the best for Glendale. Who wants light rail running down Glendale Avenue? Think of all the people and all the businesses that you may uproot. But there is $162 million in sales tax, so there are some alternatives there that can be looked at. Maybe some of it for commuter rail, expanding our bus service, fixing our streets and escalating that program. Times have changed since 2001. It's 2018, and attitudes change too. We certainly have a whole lot more traffic.
Thank you. Mr. Dama?
Thank you. The question was the council inappropriate in voting down the light rail? I can't say that the council was inappropriate. To each their own on what you vote for, and you either regret that or you support that. I was in support of the light rail tax simply because it was a voter will. Voters asked us to do that. That's what they asked us to do. An overwhelming amount of Glendale residents, not just the district, Glendale residents, asked us to support that. I gave you what you asked for. I know it was challenging. I supported a 30% build-out design. That would have given us exactly the amount that was going to cost us in the general fund. How is that going to impact our fund balance? How is that going to impact our community? I was open to go the 30%. And that cost was there. We had the money to cover that. I gave you what you asked for. That's what I do. That's this type of council member. If you voted overwhelmingly on a proposition, then that's what you're going to get. I know it was a challenge, and it was a difficult vote. I feel it would have been good for the city. Two you.
Thank you very much. Next question will be to Ms. Tomachoff. Candidates, next question. What two major achievements will you accomplish during your term for your specific district if you are elected?
Let's see, two major accomplishments that I will accomplish. We still have a lot of work to do. We've made a lot of progress. We talk about the things that we've done, but we've got debt service problems lingering that are going to get a lot bigger for the city. We have got to continue to grow revenue for the city. Camelback Ranch, the debt service on Camelback Ranch this year in our budget was $8.5 million. That's going to go to around $15 million a year in the next few years. And by the time we get to the end, the last few years we pay debt service on that's going to be around $21 million a year in debt service on Camelback Ranch. So we are not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. We have got to continue working towards economic development. We've got to continue to make the city as business friendly as possible for businesses that want to locate in Glendale and expand in Glendale, because we need to be able to make it as comfortable as possible to get through these next years on paying off Camelback Ranch. Thank you.
And it's all the way down to Mr. Turner again.
Thank you. So two things that, I'll tell you what, will you repeat the question, make sure I have it right?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Yes. What two major achievements will you accomplish during your term for your specific district if you are elected?
Thank you. In my case, if I'm reelected. Thank you. So two specific things. Well, one of the first ones that came to my mind is actually not in our district, but it is important to residents everywhere, and our districts can use it. When we came on the council 4 years ago, there was talk about a plan actually to close the Foothills Library up north, and I helped lead the effort to refer that to our Parks Commission and to our Library Commission and to get their input. And we ended up saving that library, and not only we saved that library, we're now building a library in the western area that'll be open this coming year. So that's something that my residents can use, even if it's not in the district, something that's really in our district that everybody around the city and outside can use is Glen Lakes Golf Course. That's been neglected by the city for way too long, and that's what's cost, a large part of what's cost it to have declining participation. I think we can put energy back into that golf course, bring it up to a standard that makes it as popular as it used to be. It really is a terrific little course, and I'm dedicated to saving it. Thank you.
Mr. Strahl?
Well, actually, I have more than two. First of all, I'd like to bring back the feeling to the residents of Glendale that they have a voice. because I feel in many cases they have been left out of this process. Second of all, as Lauren Tomlichoff, Councilmember Tomlichoff had indicated, we do need to be fiscally responsible. We do need to look at continuing to reduce our debt service. I also believe that we should give more attention to our public transportation. Glendale's increasing in population, and that's going to require additional public transportation needs. So we need to investigate and research that a little bit more. And then, of course, one of my favorites, the streets. I think we need to continue to repair the streets.
Mr. Dama?
Who's next? What's that?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. I thought you said Mr. Allen. I apologize. Yeah, so the council has, this past 4 years, we've completed some very heavy lifting, folks. Really, really hard work. The council together has worked hard to get our finances back. One thing I'm going to do, and I spoke with our residents, is we are going to create a committee similar to my mobile office hours to address the zoning and the code enforcement in the district. We want to keep the Blythe out, and we want a beautiful district that it is now, but we want to keep the Blythe out. The second thing I want to do and continue doing working with the council is reach our fund balance of $50 million, our goal, so we can start talking about how do we get a healthier general fund to start bringing amenities back, not only to all the districts, but to the Alcatillo district. We have a lot of amenities that we need, and the only way we can do it is by strong, stable finances. And I'm going to continue to work with the council to create those finances and keep working for a better district. And again, keep working with all of the other council members that are elected to support their districts. But really what it is in a nutshell is keep our finances where they are, if not better. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Some of the things that I'm looking at doing is some of the things we've already been working on as far as accomplishments. And one of the things is bringing those resources to the Alcatillo district. Alcatillo district has some unique issues, and one of the things we've seen is we've solved hard problems by opening up one of those rec centers and being able to see a reduction in crime. So we're gonna address that, and we're gonna see more crime going down in our district. So we're gonna see public safety. We're gonna see crime going down. We're gonna see quality of life of our parks and recreation. Those are things we've already addressed and we've looked at, and we're going to continue to do that, building relationships, especially with what we've done with our police department, that now our police department is over there at the rec centers and visiting the different rec centers. And so we're going to see that what we've already done from this grassroots level to spill over, and we'll see that happening for our entire district. And so those are some things that we've, like I said, we've already accomplished, and we're going to continue to do. Being in this seat as an elected official, we'll see that influence expand even more.
Thank you. And the mic comes all the way back to Mr. Turner. And Mr. Turner and candidates, next question. The Glen Lakes Golf Course has been an icon in Glendale for many years. If you are elected, are you in favor of making the necessary capital improvements to the golf course, and are you in favor of keeping it open and operating for the public and the residents?
Thank you. Well, I think it's clear that the answer is yes. As I said before, one of the very biggest problems with Glen Lakes Golf Course is the city has done no capital improvement reinvestment in that course for at least 20 years that I can think of. And we did not hold the contractors who were operating it responsible for the capital improvement and upkeep they were supposed to do, so that comes back to us as well. That is a really important piece of open green space in Glendale, and I would certainly like it to remain a golf course, and I personally think it can. It may be a golf course that's dedicated to be open to the public, but may instead be privately held. But that will help us keep some of the expenses down. But I'm absolutely committed to that remaining green open space, not just for the Beryl District, but for all the residents of Glendale that have used it. And I also think that having a golf course there where young people, particularly in this geographic area, can learn to play golf and have a skill then that they can use throughout their life in a number of situations in business and in life, it will be a benefit to this area.
Mr. Strahl?
I have played Glen Lakes for 25 years. and I've enjoyed that course, but I have continually seen it go downhill. A number of years ago, it would have cost maybe $100,000 to put it back in great order. Now that number is somewhere around $500,000, and it loses $500,000 a year. So now we are faced with the question, do we keep it open, or do we look at alternatives for Glen Lakes? I think there needs to be a little bit more investigation and research as to what we can do there. As far as keeping it open, I'm not sure that that is the right answer at this point, because it would cost the city too much to restore that course to where it needs to be.
Mr. Adama?
Thank you. So the biggest misconception of council members is that you only support your district. In this case, this is not in my district, but I'm very supportive of the Glen Lakes Golf Course. But I want to remind you that we have a capital improvement policy, and that policy reads, it states that the city should invest and shall not walk away from their assets and shouldn't allow them to deteriorate. To some extent, we allowed that place to deteriorate, just like we did the O'Neill Park swimming pool and facility there. Folks, I can't allow it to do that. I can't allow that to happen. As your council member for the city of Glendale and the Alcotillo district, I feel that we should look into it and what dollars are needed to rebuild that incrementally. I'm not in favor of leaving it. I do want to invest more money in it. How do we do it as a smart way? As I said before, we have a fiduciary responsibility, but I cannot walk away from the city of Glendale's assets that belong to you. You pay for those assets out of your pocket every single day, and I will not allow that to happen. I'll work hard with our council members to come up with a good solution.
Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I will. The Glen Lakes Golf Course has been an icon in Glendale for many years. If you are elected, are you in favor of making the necessary capital improvements to the golf course, and are you in favor of keeping it open and operating for the public and residents?
Well, we definitely have to, when we look at that golf course there, we definitely have to look at some creative and innovative solutions there to make sure that that we are abiding by those responsibilities financially, to make sure that we are doing the best that we can do as far as as far as the tax dollars is concerned. I think that that golf course, again, we need to be creative. The management there needs to be able to have some innovative ways to attract business, but it's very important for us to make sure that it is attractive and it is bringing in people. There's just different ways that we have to be creative with that. And so, yeah.
Thank you. I wish I could be supportive of restoring Glen Lakes Golf Course, but unfortunately, at least at the last I heard, it's several $1 million it would take to bring that back up to par. And I'm committed to restoring our parks. The city hasn't invested capital, really any capital anywhere in the city. We've just barely recovering from the recession. And one of the things I wanted to find out is where are we on our park spending? Glendale spends $29.53 per resident on parks maintenance. The next, and that's last place, by the way, the next rung up in the ladder, next to last place, spends $69.19 per resident. So in order for us to fill that gap with about 250,000 residents, that's $10 million less we're spending on parks maintenance. So unfortunately, I don't see a way where we can reasonably invest that kind of money in one spot of the city when we've got parks that need maintenance and capital investments all over the city.
Okay, all the way down to Mr. Turner. Did you need the question? Did you answer that one?
I thought I did.
Yeah.
I'll
Oh,
do
you
it again
did.
if you'd like.
No, that's fine.
There
I have
is
another
more I
one
can
for you.
say on this subject.
I have another one for you. I just did not mark you off. Oh, okay. Candidates, and actually it's Mr. Strahl is first. Mr. Strahl, you're ready to go. You're on top of it. What are your thoughts, candidates, what are your thoughts about establishing a committee which includes the community through an open application process that will review the City of Glendale Charter and make recommendations? And what area or areas do you feel are in need of change?
I feel having citizens involved in the process is always a positive move. I said earlier that I don't think it's all about government. So I think that there should be some community leaders as well as citizens that form a task force or committee or whatever you want to call it to review the city charter. We always hear of all of these old laws that are on the books that are very antiquated. Well, maybe some of these things could be updated and addressed. So I do feel that that would be well received. Now, as I am not a current council member, I would need to look at all of these options a little bit further because I do not have the information that some of the council members have here. So,
Thank you, Mr. Alderman.
Can you repeat the question, please? Would you?
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
please.
I am not listening, am I? I'm on to the other one. What are your thoughts about establishing a committee which includes the community through an open application process that would review the Glendale City Charter and make recommendations? And what area or areas do you feel are in need of change?
Thank you. I'm in very much so support that we have a diverse group of community members that can look at the charter. It shouldn't be the council that does that. It should be the community that does that, brings us a recommendation, and we keep working on it. I'm going to state one idea that residents, because this was a councilmember item of interest of one of the council members, and residents have come to me during my mobile office hours that one thing that they want to look at, and didn't say they want to look at is term limits for council members. They want to look at that. How long has it been that we've had that? Have we ever had term limits? So they want to look at that. We want to look at, I would be in support that we look into the charter simply for a couple reasons. A lot of it is outdated and hasn't been updated for many, many years. For us to be an efficient city and the way we do business, we need to look at that simply for refreshing those ordinances and how we do business. But I would be in favor of a community group that's diverse, not selected by the council, that's neutral.
Thank you. Mr. Allen?
I always think it's a great idea for citizens to have a voice and to be able to give their input. Diversity is always good. I'm not as familiar as was stated with Ray Strahl in regards to the charter here, but as I said, I think that citizens should always, I'm definitely in support of being able to have a diverse group of people to be able to share their ideas and their recommendations and suggestions. It's healthy for a city to have that, especially a beautiful city of Glendale that represents a diverse group of people. And so your voice matters, and everyone should be able to have that seat at the table to give their ideas, and then we be able to pull from that.
Thank you. I believe it's been 12 years since the last time the city charter was updated. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's been about 12 years. And I think it's a great idea. I'm not exactly sure, and I wouldn't want to direct people to what I think would needed to be changed. It would need to be a citizens committee. It's not something that the council would do. I would say that the one thing that I would not want to see changed is the council manager form of government. I think it's a very efficient way to run a city. Because you have basically two sides of the house. You have the administrative side of the house and you have the policy side of the house, and it's kind of a division of power, and I think that it works well for city governments all across the country. So I would not want to see that change, but I'd be open to discussing any other types of changes that, that the Citizens Committee came up with. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have Mr. Turner.
Yes, please. Thank you. So it was many months ago that Councilmember Malnar, who's sitting in the back of the room, had asked as a council item of special interest for this to be brought forward. In fact, there probably was time when he presented it that could have been on this November's ballot, but obviously at this point it won't be. But I would support establishing a Citizens Charter Review Committee. I will echo Councilmember Vice Mayor Tomachoff's comments that I would not like to see a change in the style or form of our government. The council manager form of government is, again, very efficient, and it provides the proper protections for employees that they aren't all political appointees, and that would change at the whim of, a new mayor, for instance, or something like that. So it really provides great security. I would be open to looking at giving the residents an opportunity to decide if they would like term limits on the mayor and on the council. And one area that I would like them to look at is whether or not the city auditor ought to be hired by the council the same way that the city clerk and the city attorney are, and give greater independence and oversight over all of the city management
Thank you,
functions.
Mr.
So thank
Turner.
you.
Thank you. Microphone to Mr. Adama. Candidates, next question. Some residents feel, for many decades, South Glendale residents have felt the north of the city residents have been given preferential treatment by the city government, Glendale city government. How would you work to prevent and help with future occurrences?
Thank you. That is absolutely correct. The conception out there and the optics are that we are the haves and the have-nots, and the north side has it all and we don't. To some extent, that is true, and to that extent is that we are an aging district. We are an old district. It needs fixing. It is beautiful. It is great. But since I've been on council for the past 4 years, I have brought those issues to the council, and the council, for the most part, has been very supportive in looking how we better Glendale, how we look at gentrification, how do we look at addressing zoning, how do we address code enforcement. We need to look at our streets, and we're doing that now. I've been very open and transparent with the community that this place needs fixing, this district needs fixing, and I keep bringing that up to the council. And I'll say that, for the most part, we continue to work together. As I said, I'm going to form a committee when I get back into office, and we're going to address all that together so that I run up the flagpole to the council, the needs of this district. And I believe, and I do feel wholeheartedly, that the council recognizes that we need help in this side of town.
Thank you, Mr. Adama. Mr. Allen?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes, I will, if I can find it. Some residents feel, for many decades, South Glendale residents have felt the north of the city residents are being given preferential treatment by Glendale city government. How would you work to prevent and help with future occurrences?
Well, I think it's important with any type of issue is communication is very important. I've talked to a lot of different people that in the southern area of Glendale, and especially in the Ocotillo district, that have those similar views. And but being able to communicate and understand how a lot of different processes work, I do see the need that that the southern areas of Glendale does need. It began right here, and it began to grow out. And so there are a lot of things that need attention. And I think that it's very important that we do address those needs. A lot of people in the southern areas felt neglected and felt like they haven't been heard. And it's important that we have someone that will hear what they're saying and take action. I believe that it's important that we make sure that we are hearing those needs, communicating very well, and understanding how the process, different things work, and make sure that we're on the same page and bring those different resources to this area.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you. I would disagree that the people to the north, and I really dislike this argument of the north-south. I think it's very divisive for the city. And you know, the city started here in downtown, and it grew out. It grew to the north. So you see the suburbs and the residential areas are newer because that's where the growth happened. And the exact opposite is going to happen now because our growth area is to the west. The city has invested more money actually in the Westgate area than any other part of the city, which is not part of the north part of the city. And the city's invested hundreds of millions of dollars in the Westgate area. And our growth area, our municipal growth area, is all to the west, and that is going to be the area where there's going to be new homes, new streets, new shopping centers. But we have to be committed to the city as a whole, to working together, and I believe we have done that to show that we are committed to the entire city. But it's just a natural thing that happens when you have growth. The new areas are new.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
Thank you. Well, as one who's been here for a while and seen a lot of growth from the time when I was a kid and there were about 50,000 residents in Glendale to the 250,000 almost that we have now, it really is impressed upon me that as we grow, we're able to grow because those who are already here are willing to vote yes on the bonds for the new areas coming in, and they're willing to pay the taxes to retire those bonds. So as we grow, the older parts of the communities carry part of the load for that as well, as do the new residents who move in afterwards. And it's been that way as we've progressed every mile north until we've reached Thunderbird Park, and it will continue that way as we progress west. We're out to at least the 101 now in most people's minds, and we'll get out to the 303. But it's done because we work together as a whole community. The same way we save a library as a whole community, or we build a new library as a whole community, we have to appreciate that everything that is good for a part of the community is good for the whole community.
Thank you.
And
Mr.
that we need to
Strong?
work like that. Thank you.
There's always been this battle, north, south, east, west, and it'll go on forever. So what can we do to try to bring both sides together, north and south? There may be some additional beautification that we can talk about in some of the older neighborhoods, true. We can also talk about increased street maintenance. We can talk about residents having a voice. I think I said that during the first question, is that residents need to have a voice. They need to feel that they're part of the community. So many times they've been left out. And that's one of the things I'd like to, if elected, that I would like to try to bring back. So all in all, the growth has been to the west. But this is going to be an ongoing problem. We can do whatever we can to reduce this, but it's always going to be there to some degree.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, you'll be next with the candidates. Next question. Being a candidate for a council member is an important position, especially since you are representing your constituents. Money is being spent on a Cardinal parking lot on 91st Avenue over by the canal by the stadium. Are you in favor of putting city dollars into these projects? Why or why not?
Well, I would have to say that in regards to that, I would have to really do some research on that in regards to how much money has been spent on that, how much is allocated for that, in order to make a decision if that is a wise decision. Again, as it's been said over and over and over tonight, council members do have a fiduciary responsibility. And so anything that we do, we have to make sure that it makes sense. We have to make sure it's in the best interest of our constituents, of our city. And so it's something that I can't just sit here and just say, without really researching the details of that. Again, at the end of the day, we have to make sure that our decisions that we do make are prudent, that they're going to be the best thing for our city and our constituents that we represent.
Ms. Schaaf?
Thank you. The city committed to 11,000 parking places for Cardinals games and special events years ago. And we had the land, we had where the Tanger Outlet Mall is, and unfortunately I'm not going to get this all in a minute, but and when Tanger Outlet Mall was built, which generates about $3 or $4 million of revenue, but what that did was create about a $70 million problem for parking. So I think that actually one of the most prudent financial decisions this council made was purchasing the Pendergast property. We were actually, we had a claim filed against us by the Arizona Cardinals, the Arizona Sports and Tourism Authority, the Fiesta Bowl, the NFL. there were all kinds of names on the list of people that filed the claim against us because we had an obligation to provide that parking. So rather than building a parking garage, we purchased a Pendergast property, and we're fulfilling that obligation and have repaired the relationship with the Cardinals, which has really helped move the city forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And that goes down to Mr. Straw, I believe.
I get to answer? And
Yes, you do. You're
Okay.
number 5. Yes.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Straw is next on that one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Mr. Straw is number 4.
The mayor's saying, no, don't let Bart talk anymore.
Oh, Mr. Turner, you did not get to answer
Okay.
that question.
So
I'm sorry.
to answer the question regarding the Cardinals parking lot construction, as Vice Mayor Tomachoff had said, the city, when they bid to get the Cardinal Stadium here, we committed to this 11,000 parking spaces. The Tanger Mall came in. There's also some apartments that came in that consumed parking. We got off-site parking. Obviously, nobody was happy with that. Previous council had committed to build a parking garage at Westgate. Again, mind you, to satisfy the needs of 12 football games, they were going to build a parking garage that was $63 million, I think, in cost. It was within my first 6 months on the city councils. I had been on the council less than 6 months when it came up in a workshop. I put my foot down, said, I will not support this. I met with our Public Works Director, Jack Friedline. We looked at property in the area, decided that we could save money by buying more flat land to put parking lots on. And by doing that, I saved the city $25 million. Now, it's not my nature to claim a lot of credit for things, but this is one that I'm very proud of and I want people to know.
Mr.
Putting my
Strong?
foot down saved the city $25 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Any time that the city has to pay the bill, we have to really question, is this a wise investment? A parking lot, 11,000 parking places. So what is our return on investment? Will we get some of the parking revenue back? Will we get that in sales tax? Will we get any of that? That's a question that I haven't heard anybody ask yet. And the other thing is that if there's any cost to be borne, is it going to be borne by the city? We really have to look at that. Again, I'm not in favor of having the city foot the bill for any sort of sports teams.
Thank you. Mr. Alderman?
Thank you. I was in support of the Pendergast property. I wasn't in support of the project with the Cardinals. I want to be clear, though, I value the Cardinals organization, and I value the team and the organization and what they do in Glendale. I'm more interested in providing infrastructure that benefits you, the taxpayer. That's what I'm interested in. When we're spending millions of dollars for infrastructure, that had better support you, and you had better been able to park there free of cost. And if there's a cost to you, it should go through a regulation of the city to do so. Any infrastructure of that type, I'm in favor of it if it supports Glendale residents, the taxpayers who pay for it. In this case, I was not in favor of that, but I was in favor of the Pendergast sale of that property. Again, and lastly, I value the Cardinals in that organization. I was not there on that one. I could not support it. Infrastructure for you, the taxpayers, you, the Glendale residents.
Thank you. This goes all the way to Ms. Tomachoff. She'll be the first. Next question. If elected, how would your allocation of resources be used to benefit citywide?
I'm not sure I understand I don't know if I
The
understand the
allocation?
question.
Yeah, this
What
is-
allocation?
Well, I'm not sure. This is the way the question came to me, so. I would say if there's an
District
allocation
improvement
that,
funds? I mean, I don't know whether the budget is almost $700 million. It's not my allocation. I'm
Not
sorry, I
yours personally.
apologize, I don't understand.
no, and that is all I have, and I thought perhaps it might have something to do with your district's budget. I'm not sure if
We
you
have, we
acquire some
each get
funds.
$15,000 in district
I
improvement
believe that's what
funds.
they were referring to.
Okay, so normally that, the last 2 years, I purchased gravel to improve the right-of-way around the city parks. There's a lot, there's a lot of need out there, and $15,000 does not go very far. I've bought shade structures and other things like that. I leave it to the community to tell me what we need, and then make a decision based on that. But if that's what the question is, I'm sorry, I wasn't really sure.
I believe that's what the person was asking.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that comes all the way up to Mr. Turner. And I'll repeat the question again. How would your allocation of resources, I believe the allocation they're referring to is the allocation that you get in your own budget for your district to be used to benefit citywide?
Thank you. As the Vice Mayor did say, each council member gets a $15,000 allocation that we can spend. It's called our District Improvement Fund, but we aren't actually restricted to spending it in our district, but it's called that, so I think that's typically what we do. I think she's on a great idea, though. She mentioned that the city budget's about $700 million, and there's 7 of us, so why not give us each $100 million to spend? Yeah, probably not. So ways in which I have spent my district improvement money over the years, and I'll continue in this pattern, is I have purchased, one of the things I like to spend money on is trees, and I've purchased several dozen trees, and I know there's at least 100 that are in my name being waited for fall to come to be planted in Saguaro Ranch Park and in the right-of-way along 59th Avenue and Peoria Avenue, so the whole city benefits from those things, not just my district. I'm also funding an entrepreneurial center at the Glendale Public Library called the Idea Center, and we'll have I'm meeting with staff to plan the ribbon-cutting groundbreaking for that. And one of the things that actually Vice Mayor and I both did is we both purchased drones for the city. Hers is for Parks and Public Works, and mine is for the cable TV station and economic development, so that they can get great video to sell our city and to help us grow. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Strong.
Mr. Allen and myself are at a little bit of a disadvantage, as we are not privy to some of the information that the other council members have. However, I would think, in answer to this question, that I would like to take it back to the residents of the district by holding town hall meetings, having them understand and get that feeling that they have a voice. And so therefore then we can start to investigate and look at different improvements within the district, such as parks, recreation. What can we do to enhance recreational opportunities within our district? So other than that, there's not any more that I can really offer on this, but it's a start.
Thank you, Mr. Alderman.
Thank you. Last week, my staff and I met, and we are creating a website where residents can go request funds for in the district. These are district-specific funds, both capital and discretionary funds. So we are creating a website where residents can go submit a request. We'll go through a process and decide where that money goes. In the past, I have purchased trees for the public library downtown. I purchased trees for the Glendale Elementary School District. When the seniors at the community center said they can't be informed because they don't have the newspaper, we provide that newspaper to them through that budget. They get that, it's on a regular basis, I believe daily. I just started a program called Little Libraries. It's called Free Little Libraries. We are rolling that out here real soon. We've already got them in, and we're going to put them in different areas of the district where not only you, the resident, but even some of the homeless people that need to read, they'll be able to go to the little library, put a book out and read it. And we're starting those programs. So we've supported nonprofits in the district, and again, the committee is going to help us decide where that money goes.
Mr. Allen?
I'm sorry, did Councilmember Adama say he purchased trees for the school district?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm just wondering why would we purchase trees for the school district? I would definitely meet with people to find out what the needs are. I have a great idea of what those needs are by knocking on these doors, talking with people. But we would need to sit down, and I actually think that the website is a great idea. But I would like to meet people and talk with them face to face, and there will be a process of what, in order to allocate those funds. Again, we have to be wise, we have to be prudent, we have to make sure we're spending things the right way. And so we want to look at those areas that need improvement. That's what those funds are for. There are so many different things that I know the Ocotillo district needs. I know personally from working in that district, living in that district, I know there's so many different needs. And I would talk to those different people there and find out what is it that we can, how we can help improve. I would look at those nonprofits. I would look at those different organizations that really need it.
Thank you. All the way down to Mr. Turner. Okay. Have you had a chance to answer that one?
I think I did.
I think you did
You
too.
want to hear more?
You went over last time. I don't think so. Okay, folks, here we go. And the microphone goes to Mr. Adama, actually. Next question, candidates. There has been a lot of community talk and press about changing the vision of what our downtown area should be like to promote and attract more people. What is your specific vision for the downtown footprint?
Thank you so much. We've come a long way in downtown Glendale. The council unanimously voted on creating an entertainment district downtown, and then we created the center line. So what we do now is we now have a process for you to build a 2-story building where we didn't before. Our height requirements are a little higher than they were before. What my vision is for downtown is one where families can come and shop, where families can come and dine. If your family chooses to have an alcoholic beverage, then you can do that too. Whether it be wine, whether it be beer, whether it be water or soda pop. We have ice cream parlors downtown. We have places you can cut your hair. We've got many restaurants. And that's the vision I have. I want it to be thriving for all of those business owners who have given their lifetime to their business, and we want to thrive. We want to provide an environment that visitors from outside of our city can come visit. We want it to be a destination, and that's what I'm working on. With the downtown manager, with this new association, we're going to get there. The downtown today is a lot different than it was before, and as some of the council members, vice mayor said, is we spend a lot of money in downtown. I hope to reap the benefits of that.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Yeah, my vision for downtown Glendale, it would be, again, that it's attractive to the entire family. And as I said before, downtown Glendale is so unique. And it's one of those places where you can get out the car, you can walk the streets, and the whole family can be able to shop. We want to be able to have a diverse group of shops that is attractive to the entire family, from the children all the way up to the parents. And so we want to be able to have, again, a diverse group of different businesses there that are not the exact same businesses, but are unique in what they do. The merchants are very unique, and so you can go get a cup of coffee. You can go over here and surf the web. You can, just different businesses there that are able to really attract a wide variety of people. We want people to just want to come to downtown Glendale. We want people to say, you know what, there's nothing else like downtown Glendale. They can drive from different areas because it's so unique, it stands out, and people want to be here and they want to stay there, and that way we can continue to see revenue.
Thank you, Ms. Tomachoff.
Thank you. I think now we finally have the luxury of having a vision to move downtown Glendale forward. The previous few years we've been playing whack-a-mole trying to solve this problem, and things keep popping up. Now we actually have the opportunity to have some vision. And as I think it was Councilmember Turner said, that we have now approved it as an entertainment district. It opens up a lot more possibilities for bars, restaurants, and I really admire what they did. And if you've been to downtown Gilbert, they had a vision. They committed to that being a restaurant entertainment-driven district, and you just need to get a couple new things to new people to commit to your community, and it attracts more. And that's where we need to go. We need to work cohesively with the Downtown Merchants Association, with the Historic Downtown Merchants Association, with the elected officials, the community at large, the merchants. We all need to work together and have a vision and work together and attract those kind of businesses that are really going to make a difference down here.
Thank you. All the way up to Mr. Turner.
Thank you. So it's important to distinguish between vision, which is the long-range vision, and what our short-term goals or our short-term implementation is. And I think that the vision for downtown Glendale should be that it remain a unique, special, downtown unlike any other in the valley. The closest to it is probably Prescott, and we know how special that is, those of us that get a chance to go up there. Bisbee's also got a nice one, but I'm going to sell Glendale for a minute. So we used to be the antique capital, and things change, and we have to be responsive to change. We actually have the opportunity right now to have a very unique experiential downtown. Brick and mortar is having a tough time because of everything on the internet, so the place to focus on what you actually experience, which in our case, I think is to be the restaurants that we have. We have over 14 different restaurants within a walking distance of Murphy Park, and they're great international restaurants like House Murphy and Little Saigon and Pizza El Forno. We have an international dining district in downtown Glendale, and I think that's the next thing that we need to really be promoting. Thank you.
Mr. Strong?
Well, more events downtown Glendale. Obviously, we all agree on that. How are we going to accomplish it? That's the question. It was earlier said that they just formed a Downtown Historic Merchants Association. I believe that this association could work in tandem with city leaders to try to develop more activities for downtown, more events. We have to engage businesses. I understand that it's a little tough for brick and mortar businesses. And they're correct when they're talking about more internet-based businesses. So what do? Well, this is where that association can sit down and start to work together to come up with some ideas, because they are on site, they know what it's going to take.
Thank you. And the microphone will go to Mr. Allen. Candidates, next question. Are you in favor, this is kind of a fun one, are you in favor of raising the salaries of the mayor and the city council? Why or why not?
You would ask me that when the mayor is sitting right here, huh?
It's from a constituent.
You know, I think at the end of the day, everything that we do, and I believe our mayor and the council, it should be not, we don't do it because we want a paycheck. This is definitely not the most paying job, but this is something because we love to do it. This is something that those that are doing, I believe, is because they have a heart to do it. That's why I would do it. And that's why I'm running, is because I want to make a difference. It's not about how much money. This is not a high-paying job at all. But it's all about making a difference. It's making an impact. It's changing lives. It's helping people. It's helping our city. It's helping our districts. Of course, you know, in regards to seeing raises and different things like that, I think that, I mean, it's a lot of work. And if it's possible to do, then, hey, let's do it. If it's not, then we do it because we love it. I mean, I'm speaking as if I'm already elected, because I really, I don't do this. I wouldn't do this. I'm not running because I want money. It's because I want to make a change.
Ms. Tomachoff?
Thank you. I can tell you that this job is a lot more time consuming than I thought it was going to be. And I've had a successful real estate business, and the first few years being elected was really, really devastating to my real estate business, because you need 100%. You need the person that you vote for to be 100% committed to making changes and to working for you, and I have done that. Would I like to make more money? Sure. I mean, I would be lying if I said I wouldn't like to make more money. But I can tell you that this has been the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. Making a difference is so much more rewarding than making money. I really believe that. If the citizens decide that they think that we should make more money, I would be absolutely fine with that. But I can tell you, I believe we're all here to serve in some way or another. And I have found what my passion is to serve the citizens of Glendale, and I'm certainly not doing it for the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
Thank you. I'm satisfied with the level of pay that I receive at this point in time. I really like what Vice Mayor Tomachoff said, though, that making a difference is more important than making money, and that's been the story of my life, and you can look at my bank book to know it. But I think that is exactly the spirit that you need to have when you come into this job. And the pay scale is such that it's high enough that it's not punitive to serve in these positions, but it's also low enough that you still have to make sure that you've got a sense of giving in your heart and a sense of doing the right thing in your community to do this job. So I think I'm fine with it where it's at. If we do have a charter review committee, the committee could look at a concept like tying, because I'm not sure that today's level is right 10 years from now. So a charter review committee could say, we're going to establish this baseline, and then every 5 years, it will increase based on how the average income for citizens of Glendale increases. And then if we want more prosperity, we create more prosperity out there. And it takes it away from the personalities that may be serving in office at any given time. Thank you.
Mr. Strahl?
I've heard it from everyone here that it's not about the money, it's about the commitment. And that's exactly what it is, because obviously the salary for a council member or a mayor is not going to propel them to financial independence alone. So my thought is that it has to be about the commitment, about giving back. I've given back on a number of nonprofits that I've worked with for decades, and it is a good feeling to give back. I also believe that in this compensation factor that there should be 2-term limits. I firmly believe that. So it's got to be about giving back and the commitment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, it was said earlier that this would have to go through a charter review, and if that's what the charter review says, then we would ultimately have to vote on that. I'm not looking for more money. I don't do it for the money. I have a job. I've worked all my life. All I know is work, and that's where I get my income from. I don't get it from the city. My wife and I has donated a lot of money back to this community, and we'll continue to do that. As Councilmember Turner said, it's satisfactory where it is. If the charter review said that there needs to be a reduction, we'll all take a reduction, I assume. I don't know anybody else will, but I feel it's satisfactory. But it would need to go through the charter review if we were going to reduce that. It's satisfactory. Certainly don't do it for the money. For this mayor and for any other mayor that's been in this city, you know it's a lot of work as mayor because you've got the whole city. Council members have their district, and they also have citywide representation. So I value what you have provided us for an income, but that's not my income, folks. I have a job of almost 30 years. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adama. And the microphone goes to Ms. Tomachoff. Next question, candidates. Now that we've had the extra 0.7% sales tax voted on by the citizens in 2012, generating extra revenue for 6 years, in your opinion, is it time that we consider doing away with this as the economy has recovered, bonds refinanced, and nearing completion of our stated goal of an appropriate fund balance? What would you say to a 4-year plan reducing the city sales tax by 0.25% annually, leaving our city sales tax at 1.9% by 2022? This would actually be less than the 2.2 that you started with before this tax increase. What is your opinion?
I would have to see. I mean, I would have to look at our 5-year forecast. And as I said earlier, we still have a debt problem. And don't be mistaken that that 0.7% sales tax is about $27 million a year to the city. Do I wish we could lower the sales tax? Absolutely. Do I think we should look at weaning ourselves off of it? I do think we should look at weaning ourselves off of it. I would hate to do something and then we realize that we have made a mistake and have to come back and try to do it again. As I said earlier, the Camelback Ranch debt is looming out there, and we have to be prepared for that. So I would not want to make a commitment one way or another. I would want to be sure that we are able to accommodate and handle that debt without having to cut any services and do things like that to be able to get through these next few years where that escalates up over $20 million a year in a debt service payment.
Thank you very much. All the way back to Mr. Turner.
Thank you. So our 2.9% general sales tax, that's the 2.2 plus the 0.7 that was added to it. That goes to fund our general fund, and out of the general fund comes everything: public safety, parks, public safety, police, fire, parks, all of that. It doesn't include water and sanitation. That's a separate fund. But all of the things that we think of that we get from the city and that we enjoy and that we want more of comes out of the general fund. So I think we need to be careful about reducing the tax that goes into the general fund. But we have the half-cent transportation tax that voters approved back in 2001 or whenever, part of which was supposed to fund light rail. Now, this last budget cycle, I proposed lowering the transportation tax. It would have the same impact on your pocketbooks, but as far as our operational ability at the city, it would preserve the general fund, but we would lower the transportation tax. No, that's not the end of my time. No, there's a, so we could lower the transportation tax, have the same impact on our public and our shoppers, and still preserve our general fund to do the things that we need to do. Thank you.
Mr. Strahl?
I believe that we need to be fiscally responsible. So to arbitrarily to say, okay, we're going to lower the sales tax over a number of years might not be the best decision on the front end. I think probably what would be better is to review this on an annual basis. And then when reviewing this on an annual basis, then we can see if we can reduce the sales tax that given year. I just believe that we do not want to jump and then have to step back from that later on.
Thank you, Mr. Dama.
Thank you very much. I just want you to know that while this council collectively has stabilized our finances, let's not be fooled that the 710 sales tax helped us get there. It helped us get where we are today, folks. Your pocketbook, those taxpayer dollars to us help us make the decisions we made today. And I am grateful for that opportunity to serve under that, that ability to do so. I am very much in favor of looking at a reduction of our sales tax for you, the taxpayer. However, as it was said, when we reduce our tax, we reduce services, we reduce our fund balance. Everything else comes with that. So through a process, I would ask that we look at that, and we look at it incrementally. But again, just so you know, our revenues are much higher than our expenditures, so we're doing really, really well. But we need to stop and say, how do we reduce it? What are we going to reduce? Is it services? What are we going to do, folks? You can't take money away and keep going in the direction you're going. So incrementally, I am absolutely approve of that process.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
If we can lower it, hey, let's lower it. But again, let's look at making sure that we aren't cutting other things away. And that's why we have to make sure that we are really looking at this and studying it, and making sure that if there are things, if we can lower it, like I said, then let's lower it. But then we have to make sure that we are being creative and we're being wise on if there will be other resources to be cut. We don't. I concur with Vice Mayor Thomas Schaaf. We don't want to cut resources. We don't. I know, especially our district, we don't. So let's make sure that if we can do it, then let's do it. But again, we have to look at that, really pay attention, really look at that and examine it to make sure that it's something that we can do at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. If the microphone could be passed back to Mr. Turner. Because of time limitations, it's about 7:15. We will now move on to the 3-minute closing statements. The candidates have drawn numbers, and they're going to be in order. Mr. Turner, you will be first. Mr. Adama would be second. Mr. Strahl, third. Mr. Allen, fourth. And Ms. Thomas Schaaf, fifth, for your closing 3-minute statement. We will begin with Mr. Turner.
Thank you, and if you don't mind, I'm going to stand up again here. As I did my opening statements, I'll deliver closing standing as well. First off, thank you to the Glendale Women's Club. This has been a terrific forum. I would like to also thank the other candidates up here tonight and the audience again as well for the civility of tonight's forum and the way in which candidates answered as thoroughly and as honestly as they could, and the respect that the audience has shown for the candidates that have put themselves out on the line. And trust me, as you can imagine, that's not always an easy thing to do. So I compliment all of the candidates for being willing to put themselves out for that. So I'd like to talk some about all of the great accomplishments that we've had here in Glendale over the last 4 years. You've heard some of them. We didn't get a chance to talk about the 2 new units we added to the fire department. We call them low acuity. They're 2-person units that can go out on things that are not a high-level emergency, but they're really important to the person that called in. They may not require a full 4-person truck, but they can go out, and that keeps the truck in the station where it can respond very quickly to the emergencies that are called in, instead of it rolling over to the next station that'll be miles and miles away. That's one of the important things we did. Our pavement management plan we've talked about, that's progressing quite well. We gave our police officers body cameras, and it protects them from false accusations. It helps with the training, and it helps with transparency so that everybody can see what actually happened on any given call. Their body cameras, and we've supplied those in these last 4 years. Transparency, well, we've also increased the length of time that we retain emails at City Hall. We've doubled that length of time from 1 year to 2, so that if people want to see the conversations behind the actions, they can go and request copies of our emails. Our whole public request system for information is much better than it was 4 years ago, and that transparency has been something that's been important to me and has been one of my priorities. We settled that condemnation suit that had been lingering for 25 years with the Con Air Corporation. They came in and built a 1 million square foot distribution facility over by Glendale Airport. So that's one of the ways in which we've improved relationships, and we're receiving the benefits from it. That employs over 300 people. That makes a big difference in those lives, and it makes a difference to the city to have that behind us. We also put behind us the dispute with the pilots out at the airport. So now our airport is beginning to progress. We're getting more leasing on the airport spaces out there, the tie downs and that sort of thing. So it's a matter of working together to resolve issues so that we can move forward. And that's really has been the specialty, I think, for this council this last 4 years, is the way in which we work together. And that doesn't mean we always vote together, doesn't mean we're all of one mind, because you don't need that. You need 7 separate council members that each bring their own points of view and values to the table, and then we reach the votes and we move forward like that. That's what a council's supposed to do and work together. You need some dissension. You've got it. You've got a great council. Like the star in the chamber, I just would endorse re-elect all the incumbents. So thank you. My website's bartturner2018.com.
Mr. Adama is next.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Grace, thank you and the Women's Club
very
for this
welcome.
forum again. I was here 4 years ago, and it's a pleasure to be here. Folks, it's an absolute honor to be here with you today, serving as your council member, running for re-election. I love this place. I love the Ocotillo District. I love the city of Glendale, and I love you for being a resident here and a citizen. And those who are not in the city that are a visitor, hey, we love you too. I love serving. It's what I do for a living. I love serving our community. This council and I have worked feverishly, and we've done some heavy lifting to get to where we are today. We have a lot of more work ahead of us, and I recognize that. I'm going to continue to serve you. I'm going to be responsive. I'm going to continue my mobile office hours. We're going to create some committees that you're going to be involved in. I see some of you in the room that are already wanting to be part of that committee that you've asked me to create. We're going to work together. We're going to better this district. We're going to work with council members to help them keep the integrity of their communities. If we see a decline in their community, I'm going to go over there and help them as well. So long as they want my help, I'll be there for them. We're not just council members for the Ocotillo District or for the Barrow District or for the Yucca District. We serve together. When Vice Mayor needs help, I'm going to be there for her. If the council member Turner needs help, I'm going to be there for him. That's what we do. We serve at large. I will not forget about the needs of the Ocotillo District, such as the swimming pool at O'Neill Park, such as the park in downtown, such as your festivals, our business district. I will not forget that. We'll continue to working together. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on some of the things we've done in the district and some of the things we did citywide, and I'm just going to go through them. An alley closure program. That was a pilot program. It's budgeted and it's happening now. Donation box ordinance to reduce blight. Youth sports, baseball, and football. Senior program in city facilities. Street pavement program. Reconstruction of 73rd Avenue in the district. Street lighting, LED conversion. Extended library hours here in the district and citywide. Development of mobile office hours. Renovate Fire Station 152, one of the worst stations in the city. Body cameras for police officers. Nearly $50 million savings. AAA bond ratings, refinancing bonds to save you $72 million, SRO programs for our schools, approved by this council in a budget. Catlin Court East Street improvements, approved 4 balanced budgets, folks. This council and I worked together to balance 4 budgets for you, balanced, not negative. Heroes Park Library, archery range, safe school streets and sidewalk improvement down Myrtle Avenue, downtown manager program, low acuity fire response program, reduce employee turnover from 20% to about 8%. We are providing jobs to our community. Salary increases for employees, not much, but an increase, not a decrease. We have economic development that's just through the roof. BMW, Topgolf, St. Joseph Hospital, Urgent Care Hospital, Westgate, Aloft, and hundreds of new jobs. It has been an absolute pleasure serving you as your councilman for the past 4 years for the Ocotillo District and citywide. Thank you so much for your support. Please vote early ballot or at the polls. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Strahl? Mr. Strahl?
Well, first, thank you, Grace, and the Glendale Women's Club for holding this forum. And Mr. Allen and I do not have the benefit that the other council members have as far as some of the numbers and the particular facts. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I have done. For the 47 years as a banker and businessman, I've been a decision maker, problem solver, and a good listener. Managing hundreds of employees and millions of dollars has provided me with the experience and skills to get things done. I've been successful in the corporate world working with Fortune 500 companies and meeting and exceeding financial goals. This is experience that I believe can be helpful to the City Council. I also believe the role of the City Council is to represent the interests of their constituents of Glendale at large. That requires listening, caring, and taking action. That's also where I believe my opponent falls short. Mr. Turner talks a good game during election season, but he leaves the ball on the table. As one woman put it to me, promise not kept. After years of complaints and inaction on roads and traffic flow and Glen Lakes Golf Course, which my wife Diana and I brought to him some 3 years ago with no results, but suddenly Bart is campaigning as a hero for all of these issues. Also basks in the glow of the council and has gotten much of the council that has gotten much accomplished, even though he was more of an obstacle than a supporter. And that's a problem. I've heard it suggested that the mayor and others on the council have supported my campaign with the intention of replacing Mr. Turner's obstruction with a rubber stamp. Well, that's not true. If it was, they'd be disappointed. I won't be bringing a rubber stamp to City Hall, but I will bring decades worth of knowledge and experience. And I think that's what the mayor, council members, and the community are looking for. So thank you for all for being here this evening. Politics is often unpleasant and a tedious business, and I appreciate you making the effort to sift through the wheat from the chaff. Also, if I may add, it's disgraceful that some people are trying to do to Emmanuel Allen. Pastor Allen is a good man who is given selflessly to his community, and it's shameful that anyone would cast aspersions upon him and ruin his reputation over petty politics. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm Ray Stroll, and I hope to earn your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, you're next.
Well, I want to first thank you and for hosting this in the Women's Club. And thank everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit about myself and my positions. If anyone wants to know more about me, please visit allenforglendale.com. That's Allen, the number 4, glendale.com. I have to say that running for office has been an eye-opening experience. It's surprising how contentious and downright ugly politics can get. I guess we've gotten used to it in the national elections, but I didn't think a nonpartisan city council race between neighbors would be this way. Certainly character matters, and I think that includes the character of those who are engaged in rumors and character assassinations. I prefer to address issues and records. My record in the community is an open book. Every day I'm in the community, working with the kids, seniors, and doing my best to help people. Jamie Adama's record is also pretty clear. He holds meetings in the community, but his record of actual accomplishments are pretty thin. Just recently, I had a resident contact me about a housing issue that could have left a disabled woman homeless. He told me that he had reached out to the matter to Jamie Adama, and Jamie Adama told him that he would have his assistant look into the matter, but nothing was done. It wasn't my job, but I made some calls, and within a day or two, I got them connected with immediate and long-term help. It's the doing that makes the difference. I thought it was ironic that our paper justified their endorsements of Jamie not by pointing out his accomplishments, but by pointing out the accomplishments of the whole council. The irony is, as the council was making progress, Jamie Adama was dragging his feet, objecting and playing political games. There's a reason that 5 out of the 7 council members have endorsed me, and I'm pretty sure it's not because of my money management skills. A city council needs to be a team. People with different skills and abilities who can work together toward a common goal. Right now, the team have some problems. That's what this election is about. Ray Straw's financial experience would strengthen the team. I'm more focused on the people and the heart of our community, and the majority of the council believes my skills would also bring value to them, to the team. I hope you agree. I'm Emmanuel Allen. Thank you for your time and this opportunity, and I humbly ask for your vote.
Ms. Tomachoff. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have a rousing round of applause after everything's completed, so please hold your applause. Thank you. Ms. Tomachoff?
Thank you. So I want to talk just for a few minutes about the SROs because it's something I'm very proud that we did, and it took a big commitment from us on the front end because it took away 2 taxpayer-funded, paid union positions that were not doing anything to benefit you, the citizens, and there were people who were angry about us doing that. And I would like to say that this is a leadership position. You have to be unafraid to make decisions that you know are going to anger some people. And one of my colleagues sitting up here tried to be on both sides of the issue. I would never want to be represented by somebody who wanted to be on both sides of an issue. You have to make a decision and you have to stick to it. And I feel like I've done that. I've committed to being a problem solver and a consensus builder and working to find solutions and resolve issues that will move the city forward and continue to move the city forward. Now, you cannot be afraid to step out there and make decisions like putting an SRO in every high school. I don't care who that made angry. I believe that was the right decision. I heard from principals, from teachers, from people who lived in my neighborhood. There were teachers that were afraid to go to school. Can you imagine how the students felt when the teachers were afraid to go to school? It was the right decision. I stand behind it. I apologize to those that were angered by the decision, but I would make that decision every single day again because I know it was the right thing to do. I'm not going to play politics and try to be on both sides of the issue, and I wouldn't want to be represented by somebody who did that. I'm committed to attracting jobs by working together with fellow council members and community leaders, business leaders, on cutting red tape, creating efficiencies, and removing obstacles for businesses that want to expand or locate in Glendale. We have got to be business friendly in Glendale and make it easy for businesses to come and open their business and to stay in business in Glendale. We've got to continue working with code to work on blight. Blight's a problem in our community. We're well aware of it. We need to be proactive and we need to continue pushing the staff in code and others that what our citizens want is a proactive code department out there citing people and enforcing the code. It needs to be done that way. And lastly, I want to thank the citizens that have supported me through these 4 years. It was a very steep learning curve. I worked really hard to try to learn. We had a lot of things to take care of early on. And this is a position of privilege. This is a leadership position that you've entrusted to me and to the others on the council. And it requires working collaboratively without throwing tantrums, without name calling, And that's not something that everybody up here has done. So I thank you for your support. I ask for your continued support, and I'm committed to continue to working move Glendale forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Thomas Schaaf, would you hang on to the microphone just a second?
Yes.
Folks, I know there's a kind of a storm brewing, but we are not quite finished. Now, since it's not too late, although I know a storm has come and we haven't planned for that, we are going to give each candidate a 1-minute rebuttal time. We will hold to that 1 minute solid, so we probably will cut you off mid-sentence if it's over 1 minute. So you have 1 minute rebuttal time. We will just start backwards from Ms. Tomachoff all the way back. Then it would be Mr. Allen, Mr. Strahl, Mr. Aldama, and Mr. Turner. Ms. Tomachoff? That other
Do I
person.
get 2 minutes? Because there's nobody. I'm just
No.
and it's not necessarily a rebuttal, but I would like to say that there's been a lot of conversation about downtown, and downtown's important, and I'm committed to downtown, and I hope you all realize that I'm committed to downtown. But we've also got other economic engines in the city that need our attention. We talked about earlier, the retail market is a completely changing landscape. We've got a huge revenue generator in Arrowhead Town Center that we need to be paying attention to, that really almost $4 million in revenue a year in the city. But those big box stores are becoming a thing of the past, and I've already participated in one meeting. We want to be proactive and get out in front of these things and adapt development agreements and things so that we're ready, and that our business partners in the city are ready for this changing retail environment, and we can hopefully move seamlessly through these next few years. So we need to be paying attention to things all across the city, in addition to being committed to downtown.
Hey, Mr. Allen?
Well, I really believe that I made my points clear here with my closing statement, but I would say that I understand that there is a learning curve when it comes to city government, but at the end of the day, and that's something that we can learn, that I can learn a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, I have the heart for the city, I have the heart for the community, I have the heart for you. And I want to make sure that your voice is heard. And I want to make sure that we not only hear you, but we take action. Servant leadership is who I am. It's at the core of my heart. I'm not up here trying to put on the show. What you see is what you get. I have a track record of that. You can go there and see I've been a professional volunteer. And I love what I do. And I'm going to continue to do what I do. And I'm hoping that I can do that from a seat of council, of a city councilman.
Thank you. Mr. Strahl?
Well, thank you. I believe, as I've talked about earlier tonight, and most everybody up here has talked about that, and that's fiscal responsibility. That's very important when we're looking at overseeing almost a $700 million budget and additional programs. Downtown, Westgate, streets, also to get our residents that feeling that they have a voice and that they're part of this. That's what we need to do. We have to recreate this because many have felt left out. So that is what I'm really concerned about and wanting to bring that back. I also believe, as far as light rail, yeah, it'll probably come up again. What are we going to do with the money? Well, that needs to be fully investigated. I said that earlier.
Oh, you need to stop. Thank you. I just heard the phone too. Mr. Adama?
Yeah, thank you. The only rebuttal I have from my opponent is that he asked the question, did I plant trees for a school district? Yes, absolutely. I provided shade for children. The school could not afford the trees, so I provided them for them as your tax dollars. So yes, we did provide shade for trees. Aside from that, folks, it's been a privilege serving you. I didn't run a negative campaign the first time. I won't do it this time. I have not engaged in any negativity. I've just been sharing with you the progress that we've had in the district, in the city, what we've been doing in the dais, the collaborativeness on the dais, the cohesiveness. We're going to disagree and we're going to agree. Other than that, I have no rebuttal other than to say that vote Aldama, the integrity of the Aldama family, 100 plus years in this community. We are invested. We talk about roots. This family has roots in this community, right here in downtown Glendale. Thank you.
Last but not least, Mr. Turner.
Thank you. Well, perhaps I spoke too soon about civility. And I didn't mean that to be a laugh line. I'm sorely disappointed at the turn to the south that this is taken in the last few minutes. It disappoints me that people use their final moments to attack, perhaps not knowing that there'd be a rebuttal opportunity. But I'm going to stay on the high road and keep it about accomplishments and keeping promises and my plan for the future. I have these in the back of the room you're welcome to take if you're watching on TV. BartTurner2018.com. You can find all of this and more, including my background of public service and all of that. Don't trade a proven success, and that's what we have here, a proven successful council for vague accusations without any substantiation to it. I
Thank you,
strongly
Mr.
urge you to
Turner.
re-elect the incumbents. We've done a great job, and we'll keep doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. With the closing statements complete and the extra minute complete, this almost brings us to the end. Mr. Bart Turner, Mr. Ray Strahl, Mr. Jamie Adama, Mr. Emmanuel Allen, and Ms. Lauren Tomachoff. We want to thank you. The GFWC Glendale Women's Club thanks all of you for coming and sharing your viewpoints. Folks, I want to a big thank you to our club members for helping out this evening, and a big, big thank you to Bill Myers and his crew from the City of Glendale's Channel 11 for taping this forum. This forum will be available for viewing on Channel 11 on Friday, August 10th, and also on YouTube. I also want to give a big shout out and thanks to Betty and Ed Sharp for coming tonight and doing what they always do, wonderful things for the community. We also want to thank you, the community, for coming and participating in this process by providing the questions and listening to the candidates. We hope this forum has provided you with information that you may use to vote for the candidate of your choice on August 28th, on or before if you mail in your ballot. I want to thank you for coming, and now let's give a really rousing applause for our candidates. Thank you very much.